Tonight, terrified residents watch as fires started by illegal fireworks threaten their homes. Melbourne throws a massive party as family and friends gather to welcome 2025. A kill-size factory goes up in a suspicious fire, the second business of its kind to be torched. Woolworths puts Australia Day back on the shelf, bowing to pressure over its merchandise ban. A big letdown in Fairfield, a hot air balloon ending up wrapped around a light tower. And the Aussies check out the SCG in their baggy pinks ahead of the 5th test.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Brett McLeod.
Good evening. Melbourne's New Year's Eve celebrations have been marred by a spate of dangerous fires sparked by illegal fireworks. Police are warning those involved they're putting lives at risk. Here's Amber Johnston.
Metres away from dozens of homes and a high school, a fire sparked by illegal fireworks. Residents in Greenvale who should have been celebrating terrified as the blaze crept closer to their doorsteps.
It was so scary. I just put my kids inside, don't come out.
I was in shock, like a fire this big in front of my house.
This morning as locals inspected the damage, they were forced to put out spot fires. Vaisal forcing his way through a field of reeds to protect the school's fence line before firefighters had to come back.
This is not safe for the people. This is not safe.
Despite many stern warnings, Victoria was lit up by illegal fireworks.
What the hell? What the hell?
Some thumbing their noses at police in Northcote.
Hey, if that car explodes, I don't want to be here.
As well as a church on High Street.
It calls on our volunteers at a time of year when they should be with their family and not having to respond to these very unnecessary fires.
Front yards in Melbourne's suburbs became a dangerous sky show as fireworks rained down on homes. Police are investigating 3 major fires, the first in Glenroy at 4:30 p.m, the second in Currie, witnesses spotting 4 people fleeing on motorbikes, the Greenvale incident around 10 p.m, but the CFA was called out to many others.
People do think that it is all innocent and just a little bit of fun, but we've got to remember recently this week we've had the tragic death of a teenager.
A 19-year-old killed in Calcalo on Christmas Day when a firework exploded in his face. Clearly not deterring others, police reporting almost 300 incidents last night, a huge jump on last year and an explosion since 2023.
There were no serious injuries, but the fact remains that while people are letting those illegal fireworks off, they are putting themselves and others at risk all the time.
In terms of how these people are getting their hands on illegal fireworks, well, all you need to do is look online. In just a few clicks, we found this listing on Gumtree advertising explosives in Melbourne for just $15. Police stopped a car loaded with 2 large containers of fireworks in Port Melbourne, and at Safety Beach, 2 boxes of explosives were found inside a home. At least one man has been charged, his moment of fun potentially landing him in jail. Amber Johnston, 9 News.
Overall, police say they were happy with the hundreds of thousands of Melburnians who headed into the city last night. The stunning fireworks show lit up the CBD as people packed vantage points to celebrate. Here's Mimi Becker.
Starting 2025 in style, January 1 kicking off with a sky full of colour. A laser and light show like no other, illuminating 6 square kilometres of the city, fireworks exploding from 27 skyscrapers. 500,000 people came to celebrate from Fed Square to Docklands and St Kilda. There was the early family-friendly celebration.
Yeah, we're coming from New South Wales. It's a nice way to spend New Year's.
It was home to bed, yeah. We are not going to make midnight, unfortunately.
Before the main show at midnight, some lucky enough to be cruising on the Yarra, others dancing into the new year.
Happy 2025!
Across Victoria, 2,500 police officers were keeping watch. They responded to 52 assaults and arrested 14 people for weapons offences.
We had some knives, some scissors, some box cutters, Really disappointingly, we had a couple of swords and a machete. These are not the things we want to see at any time, let alone on New Year's Eve.
5 knives and drugs were seized from a 52-year-old man in St Kilda, while a 19-year-old was slashed in a Sorrento brawl. And a 17-year-old boy stabbed multiple times in Blankgowrie, police arresting 2 16-year-olds.
These are children making really poor decisions. The carriage of knives will only end up with a bad circumstance.
Instead, people taking the chance to reflect on the good and the year that's been.
It was actually special. I'm a leap year baby and it was my birthday this year.
We had 2 weddings in the family, so that's what the highlight of the year for us.
And to be resolute about what's to come.
I'll take it easy, I'll have less pressure on myself and really be present.
It is going to be a good year, I hope, for everyone.
And with a new year brought new life. Abrulva and Vivek welcoming their little bundle of joy, baby Mariah, in the early hours.
Overwhelming, exciting, scary, all at once.
She's among the first of a fresh generation, Generation Beta.
It's going to be all about artificial intelligence and they're going to be on top of that. So, I don't know, we gotta level up ourselves probably.
But no matter your age, many are embracing the new year, dusting off a hangover or spending the day soaking up some sunshine.
There's less people, less crowds, like more fun, sunshine, like it's got to be what it's all about.
For some, a spritz to see in the new year, surrounded by friends, Johnny's Green Room rooftop party, the perfect way to celebrate 2025.
I think don't look back, look forward only.
Mimi Becker, 9 News.
New year means new prices for everything from catching a train to visiting Victoria's zoos. And some new taxes come into effect today. Here with the breakdown is Mark Santomartino.
For the 3rd time in 12 months, touching on for a train, tram or bus ride in Victoria has got a little more expensive.
Why don't we do like Brisbane? 50 cents. People will use it.
Starting today, a full Myki fare has jumped from $10.60 to $11 a day. Concession fares are also up 20 cents to $5.50.
It's still cheaper over a shorter distance to use a car than to use public transport. The cost of short trips has not gone down at all over the last 50 years. It's just gone up and up and up.
We have implemented capped fares for V-Line, which has already saved Victorians more than $101 million.
Victoria has gifted $400 to support every student at a government school this year, but it's also expanded its tax on vacant homes. Now every empty property in the state is liable, not just those in Melbourne. At Vic Roads, custom number plates are about $20 more expensive. Taking a child to the zoo will cost 15% more than it did in 2024, and getting there on CityLink will also hit harder, with a day pass almost $1 more than this time last year.
A New Year's resolution for the Allen Labor government would be to stop taxing Victorians during a cost of living crisis.
Parking is also getting more expensive in and around the city thanks to a hike in Melbourne's congestion levy. But that will get even worse next year when that tax almost doubles in an attempt to plug holes in Victoria's budget and get more people onto public transport.
The government's taxing everything it can find because it cannot manage money.
Our government is very proud of its investments into public transport for the whole of the state.
Mark Santomartino, 9 News.
Also from today, employers found guilty of wage theft can face jail terms or be fined more than $7 million. The new law is coming into effect after a lengthy campaign by unions to make it a criminal offence to deliberately underpay staff.
It's always been the case that if a worker steals from the till, that they get sent to jail or they face criminal penalties. And from today, if an employer steals from their worker, they face the same penalties.
Unions say more than 1 million Australian workers experience wage theft each year, mostly in the retail and hospitality sectors. The eastern suburbs headquarters of a prominent window furnishing company, Dollar Curtains and Blinds, has been destroyed in a suspicious blaze. Jack Ward tells us it's the second business with links to the same family to be targeted in the past fortnight.
A factory full of fabric, the perfect fuel for this kill site inferno.
Holy oh, you're all crumbling down.
The flames giving residents a fright on the way home from New Year's celebrations around 3 a.m.
Just a big glow, lots of smoke.
In the light of day, an excavator was given a police escort from a nearby quarry as firefighters struggled to reach flames beneath the collapsed roof.
The machinery is here to actually open up the structure and give us better access to those hot spots.
The giant claws peeling back tin walls and giving fire crews a way to drench the smouldering stock inside.
Being a blind manufacturer, there's a lot of textiles inside, and that's obviously contributed most to the fire behaviour and fairly high fuel loads.
The head office of Dollar Curtains and Blinds is the second business of its kind to be torched in as many weeks. Paramount Blinds in Bayswater, just 10 minutes down the road, was set alight the day before Christmas Eve. 9 News understands the two manufacturers have family links.
They've had a significant loss here, and they'll have to deal with that in due course.
While firefighters are still putting out the blaze, investigators are getting to work. Police are now looking into both fires as they try to understand why these two textile businesses have been targeted and exploring whether the two arson attacks are linked. Jack Ward, 9 News.
A driver has been killed in a fiery crash in Werribee South this afternoon. Emergency services were called to Diggers Road around 2 p.m. to find a car had crashed into a parked truck. The car burst into flames before crews put out the blaze. The driver is yet to be identified. The federal opposition is claiming victory in a war with Woolworths over Australia Day celebrations. The supermarket giant pulled merchandise from the shelves last year, but the event will now be marked in stores across the country. More from Liz Daniels.
Supermarkets are still offloading Christmas leftovers, but already attention's turning to the next public holiday on our calendar.
Aussie, 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 oi, 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 how good is this?
Australia Day thongs, hats and T-shirts weren't sold last year at Woolworths. The excuse at the time, a gradual decline in demand and a broader discussion about 26 January, a decision that prompted outrage.
People should boycott Woolworths. I would advise very strongly to take your business elsewhere.
Tonight, a partial back down from the supermarket giant. We listened and recognised that many customers and teams wanted us to do more to help them celebrate the day. Customers can expect to see Perfect for Australia Day sections in our supermarkets and Big W.
The boycott worked.
They've learnt the hard way. They've learnt that they don't set the moral compass of this country, Australians do. And Australians don't like being told what to do by big corporates.
But Woolworths has been quick to clarify that this is not a return to selling Australia Day merchandise. Instead, it says it will mark the day by focusing on local produce, offering, for example, green and gold glazed donuts. Online at Big W, a range of Southern Cross emblazoned party supplies is available.
It's entirely a matter for retailers to sell what they think people want to buy. People choose to celebrate however they want to celebrate. That looks different for everybody, and that's important.
A new year, the same debate. Liz Daniels, 9 News.
A driver has been arrested accused of running down 2 New Zealand police officers, killing one. Senior Sergeant Lynn Fleming died in hospital after she and her colleague were hit at speed in the South Island city of Nelson. The 32-year-old driver then rammed a patrol car, a third officer suffering concussion. The gripping series between Australia and India will be decided at the SCG in the 5th test starting Friday. But tonight there's a truce between the sides. Sam Jordan is at Currie House. Sam, the teams are meeting the Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's right. It's something that all touring teams do look forward to ahead of this Sydney Test match. But you'd have to say, being a big cricket fan himself, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is certainly the happiest person inside Currie House tonight. He and his partner Jody have welcomed the Australian and Indian cricket teams ahead of the Sydney Test. It's something that is a tradition ahead of the final Test match of the year as well at the SCG. And after what has been a heated series out in the middle, it was all smiles as players from both teams arrived this afternoon. Of course, this is the big match that everyone has been looking forward to in this series as well. The Boxing Day Test shattering all records, but it's the Sydney Test that will decide who takes home the Border Gavaskar Trophy. India has held it for the past 10 years, but currently Australia leads the series 2-1, which means that either a draw or, of course, a win would be enough to reclaim that piece of silverware. And although it is all smiles this afternoon, they will be back to training tomorrow. The Aussies did have a hit today. India had the day off. The final test of this Border Gavaskar Trophy starts on Friday, Brad.
Sam Jordan at Kirribilli, thank you. Let's have a look now to more sport. Here's Nathan Currie.
Thanks, Brett. Well, we are going to have heaps more on the final test coming up in sport as Alex Carey declares that Mitch Starc will be right to play.
He'll grimace, he'll grab his rib, no doubt, throughout times, but he'll be ready for the contest.
Plus, Nick and Novak go down in a thriller in Brisbane. LeBron's age-defying new feat. And ice hockey comes to Wrigley Field. They've played it outdoors, Brett. I'll show you that later in sport.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Nathan. Now, coming up for you, tangled around a lighting tower, a deflating start to 2025 for a hot air balloon pilot in Fairfield. We take a trip around the globe to see how the world welcomed the new year. And Donald busts a move with Elon as ScoMo joins the party. We've got some breaking news now. And Richmond Premiership player Noah Bolter has been charged with assault after an incident at a sporting club in Mulwala near Yarrawonga. A 27-year-old man was treated for a cut to his head and taken to hospital following the alleged attack at 12:30 yesterday morning. 25-year-old Bolter was charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm and bailed to face court on January 30. Richmond has declined to comment on the matter. A hot air balloon operator's had a shaky start to the new year after his craft became entangled with a lighting tower at a sports ground in Fairfield. Fire Rescue Victoria's high-angle rescue specialists were called in, and after council workers cut power to the pole, they were able to remove the balloon. No one was injured. The balloon's basket was not attached at the time. Much of the world has now entered 2025. Cities welcoming in the new year with fireworks, prayers and stunning light displays. But as Hannah Sinclair reports, celebrations were cancelled in some parts of the UK due to severe weather.
As the clock struck 12, the party began. Big Ben, the London Eye, and the biggest fireworks show in Europe, lighting up London's night sky. More than 100,000 people watching along the River Thames.
We've been working on this since July.
But it almost didn't go ahead.
I've been checking my phone every 10 minutes, look at the weather forecast, look at the wind.
Severe weather halting celebrations in some parts of the UK. Several towns and cities cancelling their fireworks amid strong winds. Edinburgh calling off the outdoor events for one of the world's biggest New Year's Eve parties, Hogmanay. 50,000 people were set to party on the streets there, but not this year.
For those people who weren't interested in battling crowds or the wind to watch the fireworks here in London, many people opted to ring in the new year in the city's historic pubs, like the Churchill Arms behind me, which is packed.
We're just sort of doing a bit of a pub crawl, actually, yeah.
How do you reckon London's New Year's compares to back home?
This sucks, yeah.
The weather's pretty wild out here.
Oh, it's lovely. I'm actually a Kiwi, so this is beautiful.
Paris capped off a momentous 2024. The French capital with plenty to celebrate after hosting the Olympics and reopening Notre Dame Cathedral last year. In Italy, thousands of people gathered around the Colosseum, while for the first time, Athens used silent fireworks. Berlin saying goodbye to a year that ended with a Christmas market tragedy in Germany. Conflicts muted celebrations in places like the Middle East and Ukraine. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky ending the year with this message. We, together with the United States, are capable of compelling Russia into a just peace. Russian President Vladimir Putin saying, we are confident that everything will be fine. We will only move forward. Thousands of people in Georgia halting protests for a night to come together to hope for a better 2025.
I think it's a long and hard battle. We're going to be happy, and next Christmas, I think we're going to be victorious.
Syrians know that feeling, welcoming the new year with the promise of a brighter future after the fall of the Assad regime. Countries in the South Pacific were the first to celebrate, followed by Australia, then Asia. Japan, one of the first, with the words Happy New Year projected onto a Tokyo building, while Hong Kong's iconic Victoria Harbour was doused in a colourful display. It was a fireworks shower from Taipei's 101 Tower, and in nearby China there were plenty of colourful celebrations. Before Bangkok said goodbye to 2024 in spectacular style. Thousands of people partied in Mumbai, the world's tallest skyscraper lighting up Dubai. And on a packed-out Copacabana beach in Brazil, a dazzling display. One of the last but not least, the ball drop in Times Square in New York City. This is how the world welcomed 2025. In London, Hannah Sinclair, 9 News.
Still overseas, and Israel's Prime Minister has left his Jerusalem hospital bed against doctors' orders to pass a divisive budget bill in Parliament. Benjamin Netanyahu had prostate surgery on Sunday, but his presence in the Knesset proved decisive. The law passed by one vote. Jimmy Carter's grandson has paid tribute to the former president, saying he was the family's rock and a remarkable man. Speaking to CNN, Jason Carter reflected on his relationship with his grandfather.
My memories of him are like memories of other people's grandfathers, you know, going fishing, going to the Braves games. It's remarkable how regular they were, really.
He added New Year's is a special time for the family, who are always hosted by Jimmy and his wife Rosalind. Donald Trump and Elon Musk celebrated New Year's at Mar-a-Lago, the pair dancing away 2024. Dressed in a dinner suit, Musk borrowed some of Trump's signature moves as the president-elect took a phone call. And also attending the lavish event, former Prime Minister Scott Morrison and his wife Jenny. They were there. Madeline Spark is here now with a look at the New Year's weather. It's been a great day to kick off the new year, Maddie.
That's right, it really has been, Brett. The sunshine came out this afternoon and conditions were ideal if you were out for a New Year's Day picnic or party. The city reached 22 degrees this afternoon, and that was after an overnight low of 15. And now that we are in the new month, this is what we can expect weather-wise. In January, the city's average maximum is 25.9, the average minimum is 14.3. As for rainfall, the city can usually expect 47 millimetres, and on average there are 6 days of rain. Now, this high pressure system is on its way to us, and in a few days it's going to drive temperatures up much higher than average. I'll let you know just how hot it's going to get later in the bulletin, Brett.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks, Maddie. Now, coming up for you, cabinet documents unsealed after 20 years, revealing a dire warning made to John Howard during the Iraq War. The McGrath Foundation makes a big change to help more cancer sufferers. And Britain's biggest heist, the wily thief who stole $20 million in jewellery. Basic driving errors contributed to more than half of all deaths on Victorian roads last year. 282 people lost their lives in 2024, only 14 less than 2023. Speeding, drink driving, failing to obey road signs and not wearing a seatbelt are among the other causes. Unsealed cabinet documents have revealed John Howard was warned to prepare for the possibility an Australian could be taken hostage in Iraq. The former PM has also reflected on the 2 decades since the 2004 election. He spoke to Liz Daniels.
A Danish princess, a beauty queen,
the winner, Australia,
and a king of the pool.
This win was the making of an immortal.
Among the crowning moments of 2004, John Howard claiming a 3rd term with a thumping majority in both houses.
I am truly humbled.
In an election shaped by a shake.
How are you, Mark?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
I wasn't surprised it came because he tried that stunt before, but it wasn't caught on camera.
Mr Howard on a walk down memory lane as the decisions of his cabinet 20 years ago were unpacked with a trove of previously secret documents tonight released by the National Archives, including for the first time papers from the powerful National Security Committee.
Matters like Iraq, defence procurement, relations with the region, terrorism, etc.
All key, with Australian troops still on the ground in Iraq, the Prime Minister visiting for Anzac Day. But as insurgency rose, a warning letter from then Foreign Minister Alexander Downer detailing contingency plans should an Australian fall victim to a hostage-taking incident. An invasion on the basis the regime had weapons of mass destruction. By January 2004, a concession from the US, none had been found.
It was done in good faith. It was based on all the available intelligence. We found the plans, we found the programs to build them, but not stockpiles.
Our close relationship with America included sealing a free trade deal.
Thanks a lot.
But there was also a foreign policy focus closer to home.
An earthquake and tidal wave devastate wide parts of Southeast Asia.
And by the end of the year, in the aftermath of the Boxing Day tsunami, Australia led international aid.
I thought the nation's gift of $1 billion, the biggest ever, was an expression of genuine concern because they lost so much. 400,000 to 500,000 people. Aceh was devastated.
On the home front, housing affordability was front of mind for the government. It supported a Productivity Commission recommendation for a supply boost. NIMBYism, something Mr Howard still sees as the biggest roadblock to ownership.
One of the problems we have in this country is that we are too judgmental about development, and I think we make the mistake of seeing them as ogres.
Cabinet accepted telling states to reduce reliance on the rivers of gold from stamp duty, but it didn't consider the impact of federal changes to capital gains tax 5 years earlier. There are political parallels to be drawn with 2004 as Australians head into an election year, a campaign to again be fought against a backdrop of global conflict, while domestically the issues of immigration, housing and energy remain front of mind for voters.
As always, people will make a mature judgment as to who's better able to manage the future. I believe it should be the coalition, but he would say that, wouldn't he?
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Liz Daniels, 9 News.
Millions of dollars worth of jewellery and designer handbags have been stolen from a London home in what's been described as Britain's biggest burglary. A man is believed to have broken into the St John's Wood mansion through a bathroom window. He made off with jewellery worth more than $20 million, Hermes handbags more than $300,000 worth, plus $30,000 in cash. The FBI has found more than 150 homemade bombs on a farm in Virginia, one of its biggest explosive seizures in history. A 36-year-old man has been arrested with court documents alleging he used pictures of Joe Biden for target practice. Pope Francis has made a poignant end to 2024, visiting the nativity scene at the Vatican. The pontiff observed the display from his wheelchair as the Christmas tree glittered in the background. He'll hold a mass at St Peter's tomorrow as he embarks on the Jubilee year. It's a new dawn for cancer care across Australia. The McGrath Foundation is expanding its support services to help even more Australians. Here's health reporter Gabriella Rogers.
In a warm-up to Friday's pink test against India, our cricketers in their baggy brights.
Hopefully the Indian fans as well can dress up in pink and bring that spice to it.
A nod to the nurses who've been helping breast cancer patients for 2 decades. Today, the McGrath Foundation announced its own historic innings.
Today is a massive day of change for the McGrath Foundation.
To be able to now provide support for all cancers is something I think is absolutely incredible.
Its mission to expand the service beyond breast cancer in the works for over a year. The government made a contribution, but 60% of its funding comes from the community.
So the federal government has given us a contribution of 100 nurses, which is fantastic, but the gap is enormous.
The transformation builds on the vision of the late Jane McGrath.
The word that I've come up with when I think about Jane and how would she be feeling is flabbergasted.
I've been a nurse for a very long time, and one of the things that we were always incredibly aware of was the inequity in the amount of support that people got with other cancers.
The need is reflected in the statistics. 1 in 7 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer, but a staggering 1 in 2 Australians, that's half of the stand behind me, will battle some form of cancer during their lifetime.
To know that they're going now all cancers is just brilliant to be able to tap into that.
The foundation is hoping to sell 350,000 virtual seats.
Jump online, get your virtual pink seat, share that on socials.
At the SCG, Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
And still ahead in 9 News, a new start for veteran Supreme Court Judge Lex Lasry after a sudden end to his career. Edward Godfrey with the defining moments from another complex year in the Middle East. History lost, the childhood home of some Aussie rock legends demolished.
Still hasn't been found. Stories from the heart.
Winners are grinners.
Who is responsible for the point we're at?
From the very soul of where we live.
Police ambush an anti-war protest.
Melbourne
is your city.
We are ready for it.
These
are your stories. 9 News with Alicia Loxley.
That is your news.
And Tom Steinfort.
The news that matters to you.
Returns Sunday, January 12.
High-profile former Supreme Court Judge Lex Lasry has landed a new job in the top end. The 76-year-old will sit as an acting judge in the Northern Territory Supreme Court. Lasry's distinguished and colourful legal career ended here in 2023 when he dramatically quit the bench via social media after then prosecutor Currie Judd lodged a complaint against him. It related to his handling of charges against a trucking manager involved in the Eastern Freeway tragedy. Stone products engineered overseas are now banned from entering the country. The move aims to protect workers from exposure to deadly silica dust. The material found in bench tops and panels is linked to illnesses including silicosis, kidney and lung disease and cancer. The government pledging $32 million to help border officials enforce the ban. It's been a year of immense human suffering and historic change in the Middle East. With multiple war fronts still raging, Edward Godfrey looks back on the events of 2024 that have altered the region forever.
There had already been so much suffering, but there was more devastation to come. The death toll in the Israel-Hamas war rising sharply as the months passed. By April, Israeli troops entered Rafah, Gaza's southernmost city, where more than 1 million Palestinians had sought refuge. International demands for an immediate halt ignored. A major victory over Hamas coming not in Gaza, but in Tehran, 1,600 kilometres away. Israel assassinating the group's political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, sparking protests across the region. Bombardments intensifying in Gaza in the lead up to the 1-year anniversary of October 7th. No area within the Strip safe. Dozens of hostages still missing, the day marked with services across Israel. Another huge blow to Hamas came when its leader inside the enclave, Yahya Sinwar, was killed by the IDF, his final moments captured by a drone camera. He and others were being investigated for war crimes and crimes against humanity. So too Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, something US President Biden labelled outrageous. This as the focus of the war shifted north to Hezbollah, who'd long been firing rockets from Lebanon into Israel. The militant group becoming the target of a covert Israeli operation. Explosives hidden inside pages and walkie-talkies belonging to senior Hezbollah figures detonated. Within days, their longtime leader, Hassan Nasrallah, was killed in an airstrike. His supporters wanted revenge. Israel wanted the group wiped out. And IDF troops crossed the border into southern Lebanon for the first time in nearly 20 years. Hezbollah's backer, Iran, then launching hundreds of ballistic missiles at Israel in a rare direct attack. The IDF claiming it uncovered tunnels and terrorist infrastructure beneath homes in Lebanon. Its bombs levelled buildings in Beirut. More than 3,000 people killed, around 1 million civilians displaced before a ceasefire was brokered at the end of November. The weakening of Hezbollah and a distracted Russia, the catalyst for another conflict. In Syria, rebel forces rising up and toppling the Assad regime. Dictator Bashar al-Assad fled to Moscow. His residences were ransacked. Celebrations marking the end of a 5-decade-long dynasty. The evolving conflicts and the many groups involved has Western leaders wondering where all of this will go in the new year. One thing everyone can agree on, though, is the events of the last 12 to 15 months have changed the Middle East and, in some ways, the world forever. With Syria's future unclear, Israel has been striking military sites and now occupies a buffer zone along their shared border, while also targeting the Houthis in Yemen. 2024 drawing to a close with the region unrecognisable to what it was a year ago, and with major transitions of power underway within and beyond, there'll be more change to come. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
Back home, and a slice of AC/DC history is no more. The childhood home of Malcolm, Angus and George Young in Sydney's inner west has been demolished. They lived at the property on Burleigh Street in Burwood after migrating from Scotland in 1963. Fans hoped the home would become an AC/DC museum, but there is a mural dedicated to Malcolm and Angus just down the road. Right, returning with Wednesday Night Sport, here's Nathan Currie.
Thank you, Brett. After the break, the latest ahead of the final test as the Aussies warn, don't write off Mitch Starc just yet. Plus, tennis's new dream team bows out and an icy reception as the NHL takes in the great outdoors. An injured Mitch Starc is expected to play through the pain as Australia looks to seal the series against India. He's likely to be joined by the under-fire Mitch Marsh, with keeper Alex Currie not expecting any changes for the Sydney Test. Sam Jordan reports.
Stepping onto the SCG, the scene of the series' final battle, Australia will have its strike weapon to unleash against India.
You know, played with Starkey for a long time now, one of the toughest cricketers I've played with, so he'll grimace, he'll grab his rib, no doubt, throughout times, but he'll be ready for the contest.
Starc's inclusion comes as a major boost to an attack already without Josh Hazlewood.
He's got an opportunity now to help this team win a test match. He'll be up for the contest, and I think his bowling's just got better throughout the series.
Currie ending any uncertainty around Mitchell Marsh's place as well, saying he'll play and, under pressure, he'll perform.
I think whenever we've put someone in the spotlight, the true Aussie way is to show them how good they are. So I think it's Mitch's time.
It was an optional session for Australia this afternoon. All of the top 7 batted, except for Sam Constas. His first home test, he'll be in the spotlight.
Just the energy he brought, it was something different. I probably wasn't expecting that amount of difference.
The youngster unfazed by his confrontation with Virat Kohli.
I think I saw a photo of him shaking hands and a little tap on the back. It's Test cricket. You know, Sam didn't take it to heart.
This team now sits on the verge of one of its most sought-after victories. It's been 10 years since Australia held the Border Gavaskar Trophy. They could have it back in just a few days' time.
Reward for 24 months of really solid cricket. Start of the series, we wanted to win the series, and we got an opportunity to do that.
An early warm-up for the Aussie captain, Pat Cummins joining a park cricket match on New Year's Eve. In form ahead of the final test. Sam Jordan, 9 News.
How good is that? The double act of Nick Kyrgios and Novak Djokovic has come to an early end, knocked out in the second round of the Brisbane International. The pair was blown away in the first set before returning fire in the second, although, as Trent Neese explains, it wasn't enough.
Nick and Novak had fans salivating when they announced they would play doubles, and it was clear to see why. Today, however, they were presented a real challenge, coming up against the number 1 seed duo in Nikola Mektic and Kiwi Michael Venus. The latter pair breezed through the first set to win 6-2. Kyrgios and Djokovic were quick to respond in the second. It set up a tight 10-point tiebreak to decide the game, Nick helping claim an early break.
Brilliant.
But it wasn't meant to be for these newly found friends, going down 10-8. In the women's, Aussie Kimberly Burrell had arguably the greatest win of her career.
What a way to start a calendar year.
The world number 113 took down the 8th-ranked women's player in Emma Navarro, all in front of her home crowd.
It's not very often that my players' box is completely full, so yeah, I'm so happy, and thank you so much to everyone for supporting me.
Burrell will now play Anastasia Portapova in the round of 16, and in the men's, Aussie Alex Vukic fell to Grigor Dimitrov in straight sets. Trent Neese, 9 News.
Meanwhile, in Sydney, Team Australia has begun its United Cup clash with Great Britain, but Alex de Minaur won't be taking on fiancée Katie Boulter in the mixed doubles. Instead, he'll just be playing singles later tonight. Boulter is currently facing off with Olivia Gadecki in the women's singles and has claimed the first set.
She started brilliantly and has finished in style. Boulter takes the first set by 6-2.
Boulter already leads 3 games to love in the second. A day after celebrating his 40th birthday, LeBron James has proven he's still got it, becoming the first man to play in the NBA as a teenager and in his 40s. Fittingly, he did it against Cleveland, the team with which he started.
LBJ throws it down from Reeves. Give and go. A simple basketball.
LeBron had 23 points and 7 assists for the Lakers, but it was the league-leading Cavaliers that claimed a 12-point win. And finally tonight, it's not often you see a professional ice hockey game played outdoors, but that's exactly what the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues have done in the NHL. The clash was played at baseball's Wrigley Field, and perhaps being out in the open air made things a little more frostier than usual between the two sides.
Polino and Shen, the two captains, dropped the gloves. They took part of the ceremonial face-off with Chelios, Roenick and Savard. Not smiling for a photo this time.
Unfortunately, the home side couldn't deliver for the fans. The Blues winning 6-2. Still the same old ice hockey there, Brett.
Never sure if I'm watching ice hockey or boxing. Nathan, thank you. Madeline Sparks back now with the weather details. Nice day today. Will tomorrow be the same?
It's not going to be quite as nice as today, Brett. It will be cooler, but I would lap that up because on the weekend it's going to be creeping towards 40 degrees. So a return to those stifling hot conditions we had on Boxing Day. I'll have the full forecast after the break.
9 News is the place to turn for the moments that matter.
See just how close.
Keep yourself informed with the free 9 News app. Watch breaking news when it happens, wherever you are.
Advice to Australians.
Get news alerts when you need them most. 9 News is your news on the 9 News app.
Hello again and Happy New Year. The city turned it on for the first day of 2025, reaching 22 degrees. And if you were still partying at 4 a.m, that's when we recorded our minimum of 15. And if you weren't in the city last night, it was a little bit cooler around the suburbs. It dropped to 11 at Ferny Creek and also at Ringwood, while Coldstream dropped to 8 and most suburbs made it to the mid-20s. 25 was the top temperature at Epping, Avalon and also at Coldstream. Plenty of spots in the state's north reached the low 30s, 34 degrees at Wodonga, and through the south, maximums of 23 were pretty popular. Warrnambool made it to 21 after a cool low of 6. On the satellite, you can see a cold front just clipping Tasmania. It's just touching Victoria as well, while a high in the Bight is moving towards us, and that will continue moving our way tomorrow. By Friday, winds will switch around to warmer northerlies, and that's why it's going to be very hot at the end of the week. Around the country tomorrow, sunny in Perth, 30 degrees, sunshine for Adelaide as well, 29. It'll be cloudy in Hobart, the top of 20, and Sydney is heading for 24 degrees with some possible showers. Back home, the state's north can expect sunshine and dry skies, 33 degrees at Wodonga, 30 at Shepparton, and it is a different story south of the ranges with more cloud about. Maximums will range from 20 to 23, Aireys Inlet heading for just 19. Most suburbs can expect to reach either 21 or 22. It will be a little warmer at Coldstream and Scoresby, 23 degrees there. And Geelong is in for a cloudy day, 21 degrees. Winds will start out southerly, turning southeasterly in the late afternoon. And the city is also heading for 21. Southerly winds could get up to 30 kilometres an hour, but the afternoon should be sunny. And then Friday could be the best day of the year so far, sunny and 29 degrees. Heating up to 38 on Saturday with northwesterly winds, and it will stay warm overnight into Sunday, a low of 21. Sunday will reach 34. It'll be unsettled with grey skies, the chance of a thunderstorm and an afternoon shower, and showers will get heavier overnight into Monday, up to 10 millimetres expected with a daytime high of 25. And Tuesday is set to be cloudy as well. Southerly winds will pull the temperature back to 24 and then mostly sunny, 31 degrees this time next week. But tonight the city is set to drop to 14 degrees. Tomorrow will start off cloudy, but then we are in for a sunny afternoon, 21 degrees. And I can't believe we're already in 2025, Brett.
We're starting the year all over again. Good on you. Thanks for that, Maddie. And that's our news for this Wednesday, January 1st, 2025. Have a great evening. And for now, good night.